Good morning. Welcome to this morning's service. I'm Dennis Akizuki. I'll be your chairperson for this morning's service. Before we begin, just a reminder, no food or drink in the hondo, please. And also, please turn off your cell phones or put them on silent. Thank you. We have any new visitors? Somebody been here for the first time? Well, okay. Please, introduce yourself. What's your name? Oh, Shelby. I'm, yeah. Yeah, Takeda is a very long time family here. So welcome. Glad to see you. Um, we will begin this morning's service with Sambujo on page 24 in the large service book, followed by sutra chanting Sanbutsuge on page 22, in the Dharma school service book, which is the little book, or you can read it on page 79 and also in the large service book. Please rise for singing the Gatha Amida Shrine on page 34 in the small Dharma service book. Please remain standing for the three treasures on page 3, also in the small Dharma school service book. Each morning I awake to see Amida's face so good and kind. I think he says, "Good morning, child." He's glad to start the day with me. Each night before I go to bed, I sit before Amida's shrine with pretty flowers, candlelight, and incense curling round my head. I bow my head, I clasp my hands, and thank Buddha with all my might for teachings that will bring truth's light to many folks and many lands. Okay, we'll read the three treasures, and reminder that in the third paragraph we say together, instead of universal brotherhood, we'll say universal oneness. The three treasures. Hard it is to be born into human life. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be freed from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of your way to enlightenment and awaken ourselves our supreme will. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depths of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord in your life of harmony in a spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriads of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of the Tathagata's teachings. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Okay, I'm Dennis Akizuki, one of the minister's assistants. And the chairperson forgot to introduce me, so, I forgot to introduce myself. That seemed kind of difficult. So, please join me in Kansho and reciting the Sanbutsuge again. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Again, good morning to everyone joining us here in the Hondo and viewing at home. Recently, Michael Jones, I think at one of his Dharma talks, mentioned the new versions of something called the Ryogemon. So that intrigued me. I actually haven't heard too much about the Ryogemon. So I went looking around and found the old version and the new version. And there's a handout. If somebody didn't get all the handout, it's back of the room. Okay, before we get to that, Ryogemon is Ryogemon, and I've seen it translated as Essay of Understanding. It's often called the Jodo Shinshu Creed. Now, they say this in Japan, but we don't necessarily say that very often or at all here. In fact, I've never said it in a service. The Rogimon was written by Renyo. Renyo is, if you look at the altar, to the immediately left of the main altar, that's an image of Renyo. Renyo is the 8th head priest of Jodo Shinshu Hongan Jiha. That's our sect of Buddhism. Now, he intended it kind of as a summary of Jodo Shinshu beliefs that can be recited by members. So we're going to put that on the screen, hopefully, for people at home. So this is the old version translated into English, and you could follow along as I read it. I rely on Amida Buddha with my whole heart for the attainment of nirvana. I give up trust in my powerless self and abandon all practices that rely on the false ego. I know that because of Amida's boundless compassion, I am assured of rebirth the very moment I put my trust in Amida. I call the name Namo Amida Butsu in happiness and thanksgiving for the gift of the universal vow. I am grateful for Shinran Shonin and his followers for leading me in this profound teaching. I will try to live throughout my life according to the way of Nembutsu that they have taught. So again, that was written by Renyo. Renyo lived in the 15th century, so it's written about 500 years ago, in a feudal period of Japan using the Japanese of that period. So recently, we had a new version of Rogemon, and it was introduced by Koji no Tani, the 25th head priest of our sect, and that's his photo over there. And he sent a message in January of this year in which he kind of indicated the update of the Rogemon was to better fit modern times. So let's read along with the new version. Since the time of Renyo Shonin, we have adopted the passage of, oh, wait a second, I think this is, oh yeah, this is introduction. This is his introduction, Koji no Otani. Since the time of Renyo Shonin, we have adopted the passage of the original Rogemon as a way to express our appreciation. The original Rogemon outlines and describes Jodo Shinshu teachings such as the entrusting heart as the cause of our birth in the Pure Land, as well as the Nembutsu as an expression of gratitude, in simple phrases that were easy to understand by common people. Therefore, the role of the original Rogemon should be highly regarded even today. And then he goes on to say, however, we cannot deny that the connotation of the original Rogemon has faded with changing times. Therefore, we may need a modern version of Rogemon, a way of appreciation for the teachings as Nembutsu followers, expressed in plain and simple words, which we can recite to reassure ourselves and share it with others. So here is, read along with the translation of the new Rogemon. Entrust yourself to me. I will liberate you just as you are. This is the calling voice of Amida. My blind passions are embraced in Buddha's awakening. So the Buddha calls to me, I will liberate you just as you are. Gratefully responding to the Buddha's call, I find that I am already on the path that leads to the Pure Land, and the Nembutsu flows freely from my thankful heart. It is due to the guidance of Shinran Shonin and successive spiritual leaders who have transmitted the teachings to us today. Living with the Dharma as my guide softens my rigid heart and mind. Gratitude for the gift of life I have received frees me from becoming lost in greed and anger, and allows me to share a warm smile and speak gentle words. Sharing in the life of joy and sadness of others, I shall strive to live each day to its fullest. I don't know. So, do people like the old one or the new one? Who likes the old one? Who likes the new one? Okay, so actually this is somewhat, I don't know, controversial, but there's been some pushback in Japan because people are used to reading the old version of the Rogemon, and apparently in Japanese it has a certain lilt, a certain flow, right, that the new one doesn't have. So my intent is not to debate which version is better. I'll leave that to scholars more learned than me. What I'm going to talk about is the reason why it was updated. I want to highlight the Honganji and our latest head priest's motivation for the new version. It's really to express Buddhist teachings in what, quote unquote, plain and simple words, right? This is what in fact Renyo did in his time. He is very famous for spreading Jodo Shinshu to the common people. And he did it through letters that he wrote. Letters that were read to farmers, to women with young children. And Shinran also had written a series of letters, but Renyo wrote something like 266 letters that have survived to today. Of those, 85 are contained in a collection that is considered a collection that conveys the essence of Shin Buddhism. One of these letters you may be familiar with is often recited at funerals here and other temples, the letter on white ashes, right? You're probably familiar with that. That's one of the letters that Renyo wrote and had basically distributed, and people would read these letters to people who could not read, right? So that's how Jodo Shinshu spread back in those days. So talking about this in Renyo's time, I found a talk in 2009 by Reverend Dayan T. Haseo of the Tozenji Buddhist Temple in Japan. He presented a talk called The Letters of Renyo, the Essence of Shin Buddhism. And Reverend Haseo said, the readers as targeted by Renyo in his writing letters were unlettered housewives, especially, ones with small children. As those relatively young men were busy raising children, Renyo tried hard to provide them with the teachings of Shinran in such a manner as to be easily understood, even by unlettered ones, through just hearing his letters. The method of propagation that Renyo employed in his letters was to select 100 essential points out of 1,000, 10 out of 100, 1 out of 10, so that even unlettered people could understand the teachings of Shinran easily and yet correctly. So as I pointed out, Renyo's own letters were written hundreds of years ago. Not only in Japanese, but Japanese language of that time, not the modern Japanese. I think if you probably took the literal translation of his original letters and you asked somebody on the street in Japan, they necessarily wouldn't really understand the essence of what it was trying to convey. So on top of that, here in the United States, we're reading a translation of the Japanese. You can imagine that, you know, it's difficult to kind of like convey maybe the essence of what Renyo was trying to say back at that time. So this is about communication, right? And a little about communication. You know, and communication is also about a sender, somebody who sends a message or whatever, and a receiver. And receiver could be one person, a receiver could be a group of people. And then what happens was sometimes there's what they call noise or interference, right? The interference gets in the way of the message coming from the sender to the receiver. Now, interference could be a lot of things, right? It could be literal noise, a plane flying overhead, a truck going past, people talking loudly beside you. You can't hear what the message is. Or you're just not paying attention. But interference could also be you don't understand the words the person is saying. So I think that we have to kind of like look at that about the message that we're trying to send about Shin Buddhism. And if it's not in terms that people here in the United States, people maybe who are not familiar with Buddhism, can understand, then to them, what's the point? I can't understand this. Some of these terms are just totally foreign to me. So I think, you know, what the Honganji tried to do with Rogemon is to do that, to update it a little bit, to make it simpler to understand. And I think we have to kind of like use that also as we try to teach Shin Buddhism to people here in the United States. we have to understand that some of the terminology is from feudal Japan, right? We have to initially explain to them in language that they can understand, and then eventually we can move on to, as they move on, to get more. If they want to learn more, they can learn more about the original terms and what they mean and how they came to be. So as Renyu did in the 15th century, we should try to talk about teachings of the Buddha and Shinran in easily understandable language of our place and our time, and hopefully we can then. I mean, it's a great teachings, right? I think we all agree on that we're all here for that reason, and so we need to kind of like do that, to share that with other people, and hopefully more people will come here and join the Sangha, and listen to more of the teachings. So hopefully we can get there. So please join me in Gassho and reciting the Sanbutsuge again. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you for your kind attention. Please rise now for Gatha Ondokusan II, which is on page 76 in the small service book.
Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Please be seated. Thank you.
Are there any announcements? I have. Oh.
Good morning. First of all, I'd like to thank Dennis for the message about Ryogimon. There's one part of the new Ryogimon that I really do like, and it's the line that says, so the Buddha calls to me, I will liberate you just as you are. That's a very important line. And on that note, at the Obon this year, we're bringing back Mina no Moda. So you may remember back in 2019, we started Mina no Moda, Village for Everyone, as an outreach to our LGBTQ plus community. We had a couple of events, but then, of course, the pandemic got in the way and sort of shut us down for a while. But we're going to have a booth at the Obon. The Billy DeFrank Center has graciously agreed to join us again, and so they'll be there as well. We'll also have information about Okaeri LA in Los Angeles. They have an event every couple of years called Okaeri, where they bring the LGBTQ community together, and they have a large program. Elaine and I attended in 2018. It was a wonderful event. So we'll have information. If you care to help with that booth and help man the booth, please see me. Be happy to have you help. It'll just be a matter of having the information there and available, but we'll be right out front. So happy to have that coming back again, and happy to join them. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Mas Nishimura. I'm in charge of Obon food, but that's not what I'm here for. For Obon, we are still in somewhat of a need for volunteers. So if you have some cycles, some time at Obon, and you're not doing stuff too much yet, please consider signing up for Obon, especially the food. We have several booths that are less than half staffed right now. So if you are available, please let the office know. You can also reach them by email. Thank you. sjbc@sjbetsuin.org. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Gilbert. I'm talking about Obon also. Even we do not have a service here, our temple we have an open temple, 2 whole days. We need some volunteer to be greeters. So if you or have any family member, high school student, college student, please volunteer their time to be greeter, because our minister and the minister assistant will be inside busy explain everything. And we need some people by the door to greet people. Dennis will be super busy, he won't be here.
As for volunteers, I actually have, I think I have a piece of paper with a QR code. QR code, you can get a list of all what the booths that need help. So if you want to scan the QR code, see me after the service. Speaking of services, for the next several weeks, there will be regular service next week, 10 o'clock. The following week is a Obon weekend, 8th and 9th. Of course, there are no services that weekend, but as Gilbert said, the temple will be open to visitors. The following weekend after Obon, we have the Hatsubon service. That's for people who have lost loved ones in the previous year. That's 5 p.m. on that Saturday, which I think is the 15th. And then we have our Obon service, which is the following day, 10 a.m. on the 16th. So please join us for these services, and hope to see you at Obon. And a lot of you will be working very hard. After the service, we have actually refreshments. We'll be in the multi-purpose room. We'll open the gate so you can take a shortcut, so you don't have to go all the way around to the front of the building. So please join us some refreshments. Sit down, have a chance to get to know each other. If you have questions about something, about the Rogimon, ask Mikame-sensei, not me. So we'll close with Gassho and Nembutsu. Please join me, Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. And please come up in Oshoko.